welcome back to the channel, good friends. Brian from Apex Auction Car Reconditioning. I have the furry shop manager by my side. We just finished painting the quarter panel rear bumper of the Acura TL here, and the orange peel is just a little bit more obvious than on the original car paint. So we're going to sand it down, flatten things out a little bit, and make it match a little bit better. Other than that, it's going to be perfectly fine. So let's get started. You can see the factory orange peel on the trunk here, if you watch the light there. And obviously you can see it's more on the area we just painted. So we want to match that. And what we're going to do is we're going to wet sand. There's so many different ways to wet sand. You can wet sand with the blocks, wrap sheets around the blocks. You can wet sand with these puck-like hand palm sanders with discs. You can use one of these and you just wrap it around your fingers and sand that way as well. You could sand by machine, either a pneumatic air sander, and that will be the ones where it's adhesive and you stick the discs onto the sander, or you can use just a regular car polisher, but you would want to grab one that is entry level with a short throw that won't get you into trouble. And then that way you can use the hook and loop Hercules pads or the Rupees sanding discs. And there are also many other different types of sanding sheets and discs, from coarse to these wet sanding discs that feel silky smooth to start with, but boy, do they start cutting when you start to use them. What we're going to do today is we're going to do a bulk of the work with this here, and then we'll swap over to the blocks where needed in tighter areas. Let's get going. We want to tape off areas that we don't want to get sanded. With the door, I'll just kind of open that up. We will wet sand, so it'll keep everything contained. A lot of people ask why I choose wet sanding over dry sanding. I've mentioned this many times. In a shop setting where I want to keep things clean, when I wet sand, the residue just runs down the side of the vehicle. When you dry sand, it gets airborne, it gets everywhere. So it's very simple. So I'm just going to run some tape on the light here. Don't want to get the sanding disc bumping up against the light. We don't have to tape it like when we were painting it. We want to be quick and efficient here with this step. Okay, that's good there. Maybe a little bit on the light here. No need to sand the marker. Good enough. Again, that doesn't have to be perfect. That's really the only areas where we would get up against something. Oh, down here. We want to tape up down here. And then I'll get a wheel and tire cover. We just had these wheels refinished, so let's keep them clean. There we go. So besides texture, we have a fiber or something here, and I did run a curtain, which means I laid it on too heavy and it started to run there, so we'll have to get that out. So we'll start back here, we'll work our way around. And the first thing we're going to do is attach the 2000 Hercules sanding disc to this entry-level polisher, hook and loop backing plate. Let's get it on there straight so we have a nice smooth ride as we're sanding. grab our water. I could have had the disc soaking in preparation for the sanding, but I didn't, so we'll just spray it. And that will be fine. Turn it all the way down. Maybe back up a little bit. Okay. Now, until we are familiar with how this clear sands that we sprayed on here, we're just going to do a little section, do a test spot. Clean it off, let it dry a little bit, and then we'll take a look at what we're trying to see is that orange peel effect or texture in the paint dissipate just slightly, and then we'll keep an eye on how it is on the trunk here, a very close panel, so we can keep it kind of uniform. So let's let this dry a little bit, and then I'll bring you in and show you the difference between this and right over here. All right, you can see the difference. I mean, there is even a little bit of a reflection off of that area because we only used 2000 grit, but you'll see we went from the textured area and we shaved the peaks down a little bit. Now there is a little bit of texture, you can see that, but we don't want to remove it completely because the trunk itself has some texture and we want to match that. So we'll just continue. That was a crisscross pattern and maybe even one more pass. We'll continue that all the way around and make things look even. Okay, so I'm going to continue on with the machine portion of this and get as much as I can with the 2000 grit. Then I'll grab the blocks. We'll need to step down to 3000 because from there it's really easy to polish out. So let me knock some of this out real quick. And now you can see everything looks uniform, just like this first spot that we did back here as a test area. Now what I want to do is grab the blocks and wrap 2000 grit, the same we've been using here, around the blocks. And that way I can get up closer to these edges, the body lines right here, the curtain that I hung over here, or the run. I can work on those areas. So that's what I'll do next. All right, I pretty much have it where I believe I want it. Again, I do not want to sand this perfectly flat. This is not a show car. Texture is there in paint for a reason. If every car would be perfectly flat and mirror, it would show every little defect you put into it. Every little swirl, every little scratch. So I want to match what the rest of the car has on it up here. So let's clean this off and we'll come in and take a closer look at it. Gets a little messy. Wet sanding is fun. It's messy. The results are very satisfying. Got to get this dry so we can see it. So this is what I'm looking at. I don't know, can you see the texture in the paint? Look at the light there, see the texture? What I want to do is match this texture to that, and I think we are there. I may need to go over this area up here a little bit more, but I think we have it for the most part, where once, I mean, we have to actually step down, guys, don't forget, and hit this with 3000 grit before we polish it out. So it's going to shave it down even more. I think once we're done with that and then polish it, which will even shave it down even further, we're going to have a perfect match with this texture up here. And as I move the camera, you can see the texture in the paint. This has to be polished up here as well. Okay, so what we're going to do, swap over to a 3000 pad, 3000 grit. Hercules, sticking with Hercules. My little Hercules. Yeah, I know, that wasn't funny, Sissy. All right, and we're going to start exactly where we started the last time, right back here, work our way up around the side of the car. We now have everything scuffed with 3000. You can even actually see we're starting to get a reflection, ever so slightly. So let's take a look. Let's pick up the texture. You can see it right here in this panel. And when we come down through, it's going to have a little bit, it'll be a little hard to see, but it now matches. How about over here? See the texture? You can use the lights here to see the texture up here. And when we come down, we're pretty much going to be matched up once we have this polished out. So that is our next step. Let's do some polishing. For the polishing, we're going to use a Your Fiber 50/50 pad. We may need to finish down after that. We'll see. Dual action polisher, DIY gold standard. All right, guys, I think we got it to match pretty damn close. I think it looks good. So let's take a look. Here is the texture on the trunk. You can see it right here. And here's the texture on the bumper. I think it matches perfectly. Same thing, texture in the D-pillar and the textures down here, pretty much the same thing. I'm going to polish it one more time. I'll do that in the morning. It's getting a little late in the day. I'm going to wash it again. And I have to clean out all the corners of the headlights and everything, clean the areas where the panels come together, where all the polish got in there. There's some dripping down here. So I'm not done yet, but for the most part, I think that matches nicely. All right, guys, that's going to do it for me and my good friend. Another DIY project in the books. Guys, if I can do it, my gosh, you could do it. I showed you in the video previous to this one the painting process, and that was the cutting process. And we got it pretty darn close, not exact, and it doesn't look perfect, but the rest of the car sure as hell doesn't look perfect, so that really blends in. This has been Brian from Apex Auction Car Reconditioning. Let me know what you think down in the comments section, and if you have any questions or concerns, put them there as well. If you are a regular viewer and you're not subscribed, what are you waiting for? And then hit the notification bell. That'll let you know when new content is available for you. If you liked the video and it helped, give it a thumbs up. If not, give it a thumbs down. Both help the channel. Guys, have a great evening. Catch you in the next video.